All right, let's take a look at these sentences here. For A, I have ani malay. Ani malay. Which person gender number is the pronoun ani? It's first common singular. So this is I. And then malay is the word full. Or it might be full. And that's the question here. How am I going to parse this? How am I going to analyze this? Is this the cow perfect first common singular of malay? Is this I was full? Maybe. Let's compare it to B real quickly. Ani malaythi. Or is that the cow perfect 1CS of Malay? Which one is, A or B? B is. How do I know that? Well, because the cow perfect personal ending for 1CS is the T ending, right? Yeah? Okay. So if this is the cow perfect 1CS, that would make sense. Ani malaythi. I was full. Okay? Over here, ani malay, this has to just be a masculine singular ending on the participle. Okay? This is I was, null copula, and then the participle full in the masculine singular, malay. Okay? What do you know, or what can you tell about the gender of the I here, given the form malay? It's a masculine I, right? So the guy would be wearing a top hat here, okay? So there's my guy there. Okay, now take a look at this form. Ani mala'a compared to ani malaythi. What if... Okay, there's her 2 strands of hair. So there's a woman, right? If she is the one saying, hey, I've got a lot to eat. I'm full. Ani mala'a. Ani mala'a. Notice that I have a commensate ending here, don't I? Okay? That is feminine singular. And compare that to ani malaythi. There's the T ending. That's for the first common singular of what? Of the perfect conjugation, right? So C is just the subject pronoun, 1CS, plus the participle feminine singular. Okay, over here, this was the 1CS plus the participle masculine singular. Here, she's saying I was full. Here she's saying I was participle full. All right. So if I wanted to use the perfect, I'd have to use the personal ending that she uses. Now notice here that because the perfect 1CS is the common gender for male and female, when the man says it and when the woman says it, they say it the same way, right? Ani malaythi, he says. Ani malaythi, she says. But if he's using the participle, he has to use his gendered participle. Ani malay, he says, but she says, ani mala'a. Ani mala'a. Just like with pokade. Ani pokade. I am appointing. Man says. Ani pokedet. I am appointing. The woman says. Okay? So, there's your forms here, and I'll slide over here. This is how we would parse each of those forms. All of them are Malay, or Mem Lamed Aleph. All of them are cow, but the first one's the participle masculine singular, the second one's the perfect first common singular, and my translation here reflects the fact that the first one is the subject pronoun with a predicate participle and no copula, so I put that in parentheses. The second one is the perfect 1CS, and I've hyphenated was full to indicate that was full is represented by the verbal form, malaythi. Malaythi. I was full. Okay. And then on the feminine side, I was full. We're using that feminine participle versus I was full, where she says malithi, ani malithi. All right. Let's go back over here now, and we'll want to make just a couple of comments. There are some adjectives in the Hebrew Bible that have a vowel pattern. They're not the perfect verb. They're not the participle. They are just adjectives, and their vowel pattern, though, will look like the state of vowel pattern that you've just learned. That is to say, there are some adjectives that have the a sort of pointing here. Okay? Okay, so here's the adjective kaved. This adjective also means heavy. So it can be a bit confusing when you have kaved meaning he was heavy, the participle heavy, or just the plain old adjective heavy. What I want you to see is that this is an adjective and it's masculine singular, kaved. What if I want to make this adjective feminine singular? I add a comments to kaved. But what did we learn that adjectives and nouns do? We learned that there are some rules about this, right? Old preacher sermons are long. Open pretonic syllables require a long vowel. So there's my long vowel here in kaved. And then we also learn that where'd it go? I have the oops, ras, vocal shava here. Oops, ras, vocal shava. And what that basically says is that open and propertonic syllables reduce to vocal shava. Remember that? So look at what I've got here. I've got kaved becomes kaveda. Accent's going to be over here. There's the tone. This becomes open and pretonic. Hebrew nouns and adjectives stay long, right? Open pretonic syllables require a long vowel. But when they become open and propertonic, what does Hebrew like to do to those? Reduce them to vocal shava. So the adjective becomes kaveda. Kaveda. So this is the feminine form of heavy. So ha'ish hakaved, the man, the heavy man. Ha'isha hakaveda, the heavy woman. Okay, that's how we would do those in Hebrew. Okay, so we got vowel reduction here. An open propertonic syllable. All righty. Let's see. Well, we need to go to 19.5, page 145. Let's go there, page 145. And this is the final section of the chapter. We're dealing with questions, how to ask questions. I want to start this by just reminding you how in English we can ask questions. In English, there are really two sorts of questions or ways of asking questions. We can first of all ask what are called yes-no questions. These are questions where the only range of answers, presumably, are limited to yes or no. Now, people can say, I don't know, but that's really not an answer to the question. So if I say, do you like ice cream? The answer is either yes or no. You can't answer with some other word and answer the question. So if I said, do you like ice cream? And you said red, that would be very frustrating, wouldn't it? Because you're not answering the kind of question that's being asked with the right kind of answer. These sorts of yes-no questions are also called polar questions in linguistics, because when you think of poles, there's two ends of a pole, right? North Pole, South Pole. So you're limiting the response to one of two possible answers. On the other hand, we have content or WH questions in English, and those are where you're actually questioning for specific information, and the answer could be a wide variety of possibilities. So these are questions like who? Who stole my cigarettes? Well, it could have been Pooh Bear, could have been Willy Wonka, it could have been Luke Skywalker, or any other Luke that might be in your class or outside your class. So, the possibilities are varied. I could ask where. Where are you from? And you could give me a variety of answers. We're not limited to just two. America, North Africa, Russia, and whatever. When did he say that? Yesterday, the day before yesterday, 3 weeks ago, a year ago. How are you going to do that? There are many ways to answer the question, okay? So we have yes/no questions, and we have content or WH questions, and they're formed in different ways. One of the ways that we can form a yes/no question in English is by giving a statement as if it were a statement of fact, but then raising the intonation. So I could say, you like peanut butter. That's a statement of fact. That's not a question. But if I say you like peanut butter and I raise the intonation upwards, then it becomes a question. You like peanut butter? And then your answer would either be yes or no. You're from Michigan? Yes or no, right? Now, we don't do that kind of intonation strategy with the WH questions because the WH word, who, what, where, when, why, right? And then how is the poor WH wannabe. Those are sufficient to establish that you're asking a question. Where are you from? Right? You don't have to go, where are you from? Right? You say, where are you from? Who's your daddy? And so forth. The other way to ask yes/no questions, by the way, is to invert your verb. I could say, you like peanut butter, statement of fact, but then I can use the auxiliary verb do, or the helping verb do, and I'm going to put that in front of the subject. Do you like peanut butter? And then I don't have to raise the intonation. Do you like peanut butter? So those are how we do it in English. And you guys all know this. You do it instinctively. Hebrew has ways of asking questions as well, and they are of similar variety. Hebrew can ask yes/no questions, and Hebrew can ask content questions, or what in English would be WH questions. Now, in Hebrew, the equivalent of Hebrew's WH questions are not the letters WH, because Hebrew doesn't actually have WH letters exactly, or at least not that combination. They actually ask these questions with the M words. M words. What are the M words? In Hebrew, we have me and ma. Me for who and ma for what. Now, you've seen me before, right? We did our little thing. Who is he? He is she. And then me is who. So you already know me. So I could ask, who are you in Hebrew? And I just use the me word. Me ata. That's my second masculine singular pronoun. Me ata. Who? You. Right? Remember me Tarzan, you Jane. Who? You. Who are you? You got to assume the copula here. And that is a question. I could put a preposition in front of the interrogative word me to ask not just who, but to who or to whom. So, lemi halakta is to whom you went or you go, past time. So, to whom did you go? That's a way to ask that. Okay, so me can occur by itself, or me can occur with inseparable prepositions attached to it. So, I could also translate lemi as for whom in the right context, because le means to or for. I could say b'mi. B'mi. And what would that mean? In whom. So in whom did you find guile? All right. So just be aware that sometimes my M word might be obscured, because you might be thinking, okay, well, who and what always starts with M or mem, but you could attach prepositions to those as well. Okay, now here's the thing about the word ma, what, okay? It is going to be pointed like the article hey in Hebrew. So take a look here at how we point the article hey. Hey, pathak, and a doubling dot where? I always put it in the first letter of the word that I'm attaching the article hey to, right? Same thing with ma. I'm going to write the word ma, mem, pathak, hey. There's going to be a space here, but then there is going to be a doubling dot in the first word that comes right after the word ma. So the word ze means this, and that's masculine singular. Zot is the feminine singular form. And if I wanted to ask, what is this in Hebrew, I would see something like this. Ma zot. Ma zot. What is this? Look at what's happened here. That Zion, normally at the beginning of the word zot, does not have a dot. Zion is not a Begad Kafat letter, is it? So there should never be a Dagesh Lane in it. So this Dagesh that you're seeing here must be a Dagesh Forte. Why is it there? Because ma occurs, i.e. comes standard with Dagesh Forte in the next word's first letter. Okay? So mazot. Mazot. Since it's a Dagesh Forte, that Zion is closing the syllable. Remember, this hey, because there's no mapik dot in it, is a fake hey, isn't it? It's not real. So what I really have is a mem, a pathak, and then the first Zion followed by a second Zion. So you could transliterate mazot like this because there's a doubling of that Zion with that Dagesh Forte. Okay? So that constitutes a closed syllable here. Mazot. Okay. Well, if I'm supposed to put a Dagesh Forte in the first consonant after the ma, I'm going to have a problem with gutturals, right? Because what do gutturals not take? They don't take no Dagesh Forte from anyone. So, pretty much the same strategy that we saw when we add the article hey to words that start with gutturals is going to be the strategy you'll see with ma in front of words that begin with gutturals too. So, you remember this? The standard form of the article hey is ha doubling dot. But when there's a guttural right after the ha, there's also three variants that you could see. Ha with the kametz, ha with the pathak, or he with the sigol. Remember that? And ma comes standard with a doubling dot and a pathak under the mem. But if I have a guttural here, what am I going to see? I could see ma with the kametz, ma with the pathak and no doubling dot, me with the sigol. But these gutturals that would come after the mod will not have the Dagesh Forte there. So let us... Ross gives you a bit more information about this and just gives you some examples. If you can remember, ha shows up as ha, ha, and hey. Ma shows up as ma, ma, and me. You will be able to know that you're looking at the word what. Okay? It's fairly easy.
So me and ma always separated.
Right, yeah, you won't ever attach them and close up that space. It'll be me, space, next word. Ma, space, next word. So you won't write it inseparably. Although that Dagesh Forte with ma will bind the pronunciation together as if the two words were pronounced as one. Okay? Alrighty. Let's look at a couple more ways to ask some of the WH questions in Hebrew. Here's a couple more that Ross gives you. Lama. See the lama here? This is not a crazy looking animal. Lama tell you something here, right? What is this? This is really the forms of the lamed preposition with the word ma, with the Dagesh Forte and the mem. So if you want to think of it this way, lama you could translate as why, but it really is for what? And if you ever ask somebody, you did that? What for? Or for what? What are you asking? You're asking why. Give me the reason for this. For what reason? Okay? So lama is why. So if I asked, lama halakta el Yerushalayim, that would mean, why did you go? Why halakta? Lama halakta. Why did you go to Jerusalem? And then the answer could be any old reason, because this is not a polar yes-no question. I can come up with a multitude of reasons to go to Jerusalem. Another WH word that we use in English questions is where, and in Hebrew it's the word afo. Afo. So say that with me, afo. So you know the word po, don't you? Po is here. So apho is using a form of po plus a. So that means where. So apho halakta means where did you go? Where did you go? All right. So everybody say this with me. Lama. Why? Apho. And that's where. Okay. All right. So those are the ways to ask the so-called WH questions, or the content questions. Let's now talk about how Hebrew asks yes/no questions. Yes/no questions. How do we do that in Hebrew? Yes/no questions are asked by prefixing an interrogative hey to the first word of the sentence that asks the question. You just take a prefix hey and attach it to the first word of the question sentence. Now look at the way this interrogative hey is written. Okay, it's going to be attached inseparably to the first word. What do you see here? That is a compound shava, isn't it? So my standard pointing is hey with a compound shava, and it is prefixed. What does the ha on the beginning of a word make you think of when you see it? The article hey. But how is the article hey pointed compared to the interrogative hey? Article hey is hey, but what's underneath? A regular pathak, and what comes after it? A doubling dot. That's not the case here. So under normal circumstances, you should be able to tell the difference between the two. Okay? So, let's look at one example here. So look at this word. I have halo shamar et haTorah. That's got a hey prefix with a compound shava. So what do you know that's doing? It's asking a yes/no question. Let's assume it's not here. Forget it's here and just look at lo shamar et haTorah. That would be a statement of fact. What would that be saying? Lo shamar means he did not keep et haTorah, the law or the Torah. He did not keep the Torah. Statement of fact. Add the interrogative hey, and it means he did not keep the law, and raise your intonation. Or you can use the auxiliary or helping verb did, since this is past time, right? It's using a perfect here. Did he not keep the law? Yes or no? So you see how that works. All right. How can you tell that's not the article hey? That's right, because of the compound shava. No pathak, no doubling dot. And would you put an article hey on the negative word not? The not? No. You'd put the article on things like nouns, right? And adjectives. So that's another reason that you wouldn't really get confused by this. Now, what happens if I have interrogative heys followed by words that give me lots of problems, like, well, I don't know, gutturals, maybe? Well, then I could have some issues there, and this is where there can be some ambiguities. So let's take a look here at these situations. Okay. So ha with no dagesh forte in the compound is the interrogative hey. Ha, pathak doubling dot, is the article hey. Take a look at what I have here. I have ha'ata. Ha'ata. What is ata? That's the second masculine singular pronoun. That means you, man, ata. The ha in front of it, raising the intonation, you? And the answer would be, yeah, me, right? Yes or no. Now, how do I know that this isn't the article hey? Because this guttural here causes the ha to end up looking like a pathak there. I mean, it is a pathak. So there's this shift that happens. How do I know that's not the article hey? I can't say, well, because there's no doubling dot, because I can't put a doubling dot even if I wanted to put an article hey here, right? So how do I know it's not the article hey? Okay, yeah, article hey would have lengthened. That's right. That's one thing. And two, do I ever put an article on an independent pronoun like this? No. In Hebrew, I never say the I, the you, the we. Okay? So the pronouns never take the article anyway. All right? So this hey has to be an interrogative hey. Who went to the store? Ata? You? And then the answer is either yes or no. Okay? Look at this situation. Okay? When the articles have gutturals here, I could see them show up as ha and hey with no doubling dot, but the same thing can happen. When I have gutturals, the interrogative hey could also show up as ha and hey. And of course, since it's not supposed to have a dagesh forte, I wouldn't have one here either. And so these are ambiguous situations. So look at this word, he amar. Amar all by itself means he said. This is the Cal Perfect 3MS, right? He said. But if I said he amar, then that means rising intonation. He said such and such, right? So how do I know that's not the article hey? Because I don't put articles on perfect verbs like he said, right? I put articles on nouns and adjectives, okay? So even though formally it's ambiguous, I won't put the article on certain kinds of words. So you should be able to disambiguate there. Often your context will make it abundantly clear, okay? So that's the way to ask questions in Hebrew, okay?